Welcome to Lead Well, Live Whole. I'm your host, Michael Sirmon. Every episode, we'll spend a few minutes exploring the challenges, questions, and realities of everyday life, because success means little if you lose yourself in the process. So take a breath, settle in, and let's spend a few minutes exploring life together. A few weeks ago, I found myself sitting in my chair, staring at absolutely nothing. No television, no phone, no music, just sitting there. But honestly, I wasn't resting. I was exhausted. But not the kind of exhaustion that sleep can fix. The kind that comes from carrying too much for too long. Maybe you've been there. You keep showing up, you keep paying the bills, you keep taking care of people, you keep handling responsibilities. You keep doing what needs to be done, but somewhere along the way, you stop asking yourself a very important question. How am I doing? Not how's the work, not how's the family, not how's the project, not how's the business, but how am I doing? And for many of us, that's where the realization of the hidden cost of life begins. Welcome to Lead Well, Live Whole. I'm Michael Sirmon. And today I want to talk about something that affects far more people than we realize. The hidden cost of performance, the hidden cost of life. Not the cost we see in our bank statements, not the cost we see on our calendars, but the cost we quietly pay. The cost that shows up in our energy, our relationships, our joy, our health, and sometimes even our identity. There's a life that we accidentally create. And I think one of the biggest lies we tell ourselves is this, that if I can just get through this next season, everything's going to settle down. After this project, I can take a vacation. After this move, then I can settle into a rhythm. After the kids get older, I'll have time to start dating again, or I'll have time to focus on my spouse. After this promotion, I'll have finally arrived. After retirement, I can finally breathe and I can do all of these things that I always dreamt of doing. After this challenge, the pressure will be off and then I can settle down. After this busy season. The problem is that life has a funny way of replacing one busy season with another. One responsibility becomes 3, one challenge becomes 5, one commitment becomes 10, and before long, years have gone by. Not because we've done anything wrong. In fact, we probably did our job right. But because we were busy surviving, we were busy being responsible, we were busy being dependable, we were busy doing all the things that good people do. And one day we wake up and realize we've become very good at managing life while slowly losing touch with ourselves. Not dramatically, but gradually. Almost invisibly even. Our hobbies disappear. Our friendships become occasional. The adventures become memories. The dreams get postponed. Sometimes we get so busy and distracted that our love becomes our roommate. And eventually, we stop asking what brings us alive and we start focusing on only what needs to be done. But I have to ask, what are we losing without noticing? See, I don't think the greatest danger is being busy. I think the greatest danger is becoming disconnected. We become disconnected from ourselves, from our joy, from wonder. We become disconnected from the things that make our life feel meaningful. We become disconnected from our families, from that one that we committed to spend our entire life with, we did everything together. When one breathed, the other breathed. When one turned, the other turned, suddenly as a stranger. You know, I've met people with very successful careers, but they were miserable. Now at work and in public, everything seemed good. They were pumped up, they were excited, and they were running around and doing the things that you'd expect them to do. But when you got them one-on-one, there was zero meaning to what they were doing. And I've coached a lot of these guys. And a lot of these guys, as we're talking, it's like they have not just lost their compass, but they've even lost the starting point on their map. You know, we've all met those retired people that don't know what to do. Right? So they sit around and it's like all purpose and all meaning in life is gone. And that's not the way it's supposed to be. I've met parents who spent 20 years pouring into their children and them finding themselves wondering who they are now. In fact, my wife and I, when our oldest son was a junior, when our youngest son was a junior, we were out for a walk, and because we had made it a purpose to spend some time together walking, and we were walking and talking, and we thought, he's going to be gone in a year. He's going to be heading off to college, and then it's just us. And we made a pact with each other, and we committed to focus on building the things that we needed in our lives, the activities and the fun and the joy and the dates and all these things that we had when we first got married, we rebuilding them so that when he was gone, when both of the boys were gone, we weren't looking at each other like strangers. I've met many business owners who achieved all their goals, but when they hit the finish line, they were like, this is not what I thought it would be. This is not what I imagined, right? I remember when I was, when I was in politics and I won the election for mayor of our community, and my first day in office, I'm like, oh, okay, I got it. Now what? Right? Because the race had become so important, and the campaigning it was so life-giving, right? The competition, that suddenly it's like, oh, okay, now what? Then I had to remember why I was even doing it in the first place. Because, what I realized is that achievement is wonderful, but achievement was never meant to replace connection. Achievement was never meant to replace our connection with God, our connection to our family, our connection to our purpose, our connection to ourselves. And when we begin to allow those things to slip away, right, we don't notice it until one day. One day we realize, I feel tired. Suddenly I'm cynical where before I never was cynical. I'm not as hopeful as I used to be. I'm a little less excited about life, a little less engaged. Life begins feeling heavier. Not because we're failing, but because we've been carrying too much without replenishing what we've been giving away. So here's a conversation I keep having with people. Because one thing I've noticed in coaching conversations is that people rarely come to me because they're lazy. They come because they're tired, because they're soul tired, they're heart tired, they're decision tired, they're responsibility tired. And often the conversation starts with something like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I know I should be grateful, but I have a good life, but I've accomplished all of these things, but something feels off. And honestly, I understand that feeling because there have been seasons in my own life when I felt that way. Nothing was falling apart, but something wasn't quite right. The passion wasn't there. The excitement wasn't there. The energy wasn't there. And eventually, I realized the issue wasn't that I needed to work harder. The issue was that I had stopped making room for the things that restored me. I had become very good at giving, very good at producing, very good at carrying responsibility, but not very good at recovering. But here's what I learned. You cannot continually pour out without eventually running dry. You weren't designed that way. None of us were designed that way. And there are some things that make us human. So when was the last time you did something simply because it brought you joy? Not because it was productive, not because it made money, not because it advanced your career, not because it checked a box, but just because it made you smile. When was the last time you took a walk with no destination? You sat outside and watched the sunset. You called someone you missed just to say hi. When's the last time you read a book just for fun? Or went fishing, or painted something, or worked in the garden, or just sat and listened to music and did absolutely nothing else but let your mind wander? Those moments seem very small, but they're not. They're reminders that we're human. They're reminders that life is meant to be experienced, not merely managed. And when those moments disappear, we often begin feeling the consequences long before we recognize the cause. So here's the question I'd like you to consider today. What does your pursuit of keeping everything together cost you? Not what it's given you, what does it cost you? Has it cost you your peace, your sleep, your health, your friendships, time with the people you love? Has it cost you your sense of wonder? Have you lost your sense of purpose? Maybe even parts of yourself? And if so, what's one thing that you can reclaim this week? Not something dramatic, something small. A conversation, a walk, an afternoon, a hobby, a moment of stillness. One small act that reminds you that you're more than your responsibility. So if nobody has told you this lately, let me remind you, your value is not determined by how much you produce. Your worth is not measured by how much you carry. And the people who truly love you, they don't need you to be perfect, they need you to be present. Because life moves quickly. In fact, it moves faster than any of us realize. So don't wait until someday to start living it. Look for ways to start living it today. I want to thank you for spending a few minutes with me today. And if this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who may need the reminder. And until next time, lead well, live whole, and don't lose yourself in the process.